What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today I'm going to be doing my preview of Group B for the World Cup. The group is finally settled now that Wales beat Ukraine, and it has to be a huge sigh of relief for the rest of the teams in the group, just knowing they won't have to be the bad guy playing against Ukraine in the World Cup. I predicted Wales the whole time, but now that it's finally there, it's good to be able to go over this group and give a serious analysis of what things could do. Obviously, things will change come the actual World Cup once we see the final squads, see form, players who are emerging, and injuries. All that will obviously impact the World Cup once we get there, but I think we still do a pretty good overview of what the group will likely turn out at right now. So I just want to get into this group. I think at the moment, England is by far the most likely to win the group, and I think USA is the most likely team to advance besides them. But yeah, going into this, let's start with the English team, and I think they're almost certain to go through. I mean, they've gotten to the semifinals of the last two tournaments, the final of the Euro 2021, and they've been doing very well in tournaments under Gareth Southgate. The talent in their team is unbelievable, the best English team since 2006, in my opinion, and even that Hungary game that just happened, I really wouldn't care. I mean, it's the end of a long, hard season. Teams can kind of phone it in at this point. But I think that when I look at this English team and I look at, let's say, a best 11 of this entire group, I think you could argue that this team would be all English. Jordan Pickford's the best goalkeeper. I'd probably take an all-English defense. Probably Chilwell at left back, Trent, Reece James, Kyle Walker, Trippier, whoever you want at right back. An all-English midfield. Probably Sterling, Mount, Grealish, Sancho, Kane up top. The only guy I'd even argue is Gareth Bale, and that's just out of respect to his greatness. That might not even be the case anymore. But yeah, it's just a very talented English team, and I look at this team, and I think they have the ability to do well in this group. Harry Kane has shown the ability to score against teams that sit back defensively. We kind of joke about him getting 4 goals against Panama, but that's a real skill. You have to be able to put the ball away against teams that sit defensively, and he's shown that ability. I like the creativity in the squad. I feel like it's a very creative English attack. And the midfield, ton of energy. The defense has been solid. I think the only concern I have about this team is a lack of athleticism on the left-hand side of the defense. If it's Ben Chilwell, Luke Shaw, maybe in a James Justin, I feel like them besides either it's going to be John Stones or Harry Maguire, they have a good chance of getting exposed for a lack of pace. And I can see a Daniel James, Brennan Johnson, Tim Weah exploiting that on the right-hand side of the attack. But it should be said that the same thing applies to the English team. I would, even to a greater extent, think of Raheem Sterling, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, if Sancho gets going under Ten Hag, all of them going up against, the fullbacks on the American, Welsh, and Iranian team. That's even a bigger mismatch, but I want to say that's one thing that I could see them getting caught out at. But honestly, I look at this English team, obviously anything can happen. It's the World Cup, but by far the most likely thing is they win this group and win it handily. And again, anything can happen, but you'd be stupid to not have England as the favorites. Next team, United States, and I feel like they're the second most talented team in this group. However, I don't really like the matchups that they have. The English team, I said before, it's going to be really tough to beat them or even get a point against them. And I look at this Welsh team and the Iranian team, and I struggle to see this USA team being able to break them down. The US hasn't done well against teams that sit back defensively and really have been struggling to score altogether. And now this Welsh team, this Iranian team, they actually have the attacking talent to be able to counter this USA team and really put them in danger. I look at this Welsh team, Daniel James, Gareth Bale, Brennan Johnson, Kiefer Moore, some very talented attackers who can put the ball in the back of the net. Even Iran, Azmoun, Taremi, Chanpush, some very talented players who are going to be able to threaten this defense. And the defense as a whole, I feel like, is a bit of a weakness. Anthony Robinson really hasn't shown his Premier League quality. Serginho Dest, great player, but defensively a weakness. Chris Richards, very young. Walker Zimmerman, a lot of concerns with his athleticism and just being able to translate to a higher level of competition. And I think this American team has a lot of struggles in them. Building out the back could be an issue if a team decides to press them. I don't think that will happen again in any team other than England, and they're not going to win the England game anyway, unless they get really low. England will have to beat themselves. Though, despite that, I still have the USA team going through, and that's because they just have a quality team. They have the best midfield of the three other teams in this group. Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. You can put a Gio Reyna there, or Brendan Aronson. Some very talented players. I take them over an old Aaron Ramsey, and old Joe Allen, and any Joe Allen, and the Iranian midfield, and a pretty strong attack, even though striker is a bit of an issue. Christian Pulisic is a very good player. Tim Weah has always performed the national team. Gio Reyna is looking good. And Serginho Dest is a threat as well. I really like the talent on this team. And I think that they have the ability to step up. Pulisic will need to have big games. The defense will need to step up, and they need to find somebody up front. So because of that, I think the USA team is the most likely team to qualify aside from England. But if I wanted to put this on like a percentage chance, I think their percentage chance of actually advancing is probably below 50%. But they're still higher than Wales. They're still higher than Iran, but I'm not too sure if they're going to be able to advance. So next we have Wales. Pretty simple team. Play with a solid defense, midfield with a little bit of creativity, and a pretty dynamic attack that can hit you on the counter. Did well to win against the Ukraine team, and they did look good in qualifying. On top of that, they still have a core of players from the Euro 2016 semifinal run, and I really like the mentality of this team. I think it's a good group of players. I really can't see this team beating England. However, they did already outplay the U.S. last time they played, and that was pretty recent at the end of, it would have been 2 years ago by the time the World Cup starts. I think it was November 2020. And yeah, I'm looking at this team, and Gareth Bale is probably a real difference maker. The only real guy who is just a really great player outside of England in this group, and even at his age. And it should be said that he's been doing all this, going goals against Austria, getting them, carrying them through against Ukraine. He's been doing that without playing at all. If he comes in playing at like any sort of high level consistently, he's going to be even better, and that's a scary thought. But however, that does still have to happen, and we can't say that will for sure. Going into this tournament, you have to expect Aaron Ramsey and Joe Allen won't fall off anymore. Ramsey's in kind of bad form, but you expect to get a little bit better. Joe Allen still going strong. You expect Ethan Ampadu, Nico Williams, Joe Rodon, Brennan Johnson, all of them will only get better this offseason. And I'm expecting this Wales team to be prepared for this tournament and be in a position to succeed. However, things to take note of: instability at the coach position. You still have that whole Ryan Giggs issue. I feel like the defense is solid at a lower European level, but they're probably going to be leaking goals. I'm not too sold on Ethan Ampadu as of yet. Same with Joe Rodon. Connor Roberts, Nico Williams, not too solid. The midfield could easily get dominated. Aaron Ramsey has not looked good recently. Joe Allen's Joe Allen. And honestly, outside of Bale, I'm not too confident in any of them scoring. Daniel James hasn't shown an end product at a Premier League level. Brennan Johnson, Kiefer Moore, both just recently got promoted. So it's kind of up in the air like how good this team can be. But when you look at this team, you see the quality. They easily have a chance to advance in this group. But I don't think I can put them above the United States team right now. And last team I want to talk about is the Iranian team. And they're kind of hard to talk about because we don't know how they're going to play. In 2018, they were a pretty tough defensive squad, gave Spain and Portugal a ton of issues. But they really haven't been like that. They've been a more attacking and free-flowing team in their Asian qualifying. Now, will they be able to keep doing that? I mean, I definitely don't think they'll be able to advance from this group if they continue with attacking play. But just if they do decide to switch and play more defensively, then they could be dangerous. Because I mentioned before, I don't feel confident in the USA scoring against them. If they're able to limit Gareth Bale, it could be pretty tough for this Welsh team to get a goal against them. Though Kiefer Moore is definitely a very dangerous player that I'm not sure if they have the players to deal with. But if they play defensively and they decide to counter, they have some really quality attacking players. Azmoun and Taremi are probably the two top strikers in this group outside of Harry Kane. Jahanbakhsh, I'm mispronouncing that name, sorry. He's looked very dangerous at moments. He was pretty good when got his moments at Brighton. Didn't stick around for a reason, but he had dangerous moments. You could see the talent. And if they decide to be a defensive team, I think they could be a threat to anybody in this group. But if not, I can't see them advancing, and I struggle to see them getting 2 points in this group. But if they do decide to be defensive, and they can steal some points off some good teams in this. So yeah, that's really my thoughts on this group. England definitely going to qualify, probably going to win this group. They just have too much quality in the team not to. USA team, I feel like they have the next best chance to qualify, but I really wouldn't even say it's likely. Wales, some things will have to go right for them. I feel like the players will have to be playing well, be in good form. They have to be 100% healthy, but they definitely have a good chance. And Iran, if they decide to play at their top of their ability, if they really want to get the best out of their team, they have a shot as well. So yeah, that's all we have to talk about. Going to be an interesting group. I'm really looking forward to the World Cup. I might do a preview for every single group, and yeah, that's all I've talked about right now. See ya.